You already know something is wrong. Not with your life, not with your circumstances, with the advice you keep getting. Every time you hit a wall, someone hands you the same recycled script. Stay positive. Keep going. Believe in yourself. And somewhere between the third and fourth time that failed you, a quiet question started forming. What if resilience was never the point? What if the men who actually broke through did not get tougher? What if they got smarter? What's up, guys? Today we are going inside a philosophy that has been called dangerous, immoral, and ruthless for over 500 years. Because what Niccolo Machiavelli actually figured out was not how to be cruel. It was how the human mind, under real pressure, either develops into something extraordinary or quietly collapses into something ordinary. The difference between those two outcomes is not, it is strategy. Start with something that will not feel like a compliment. Your worst experiences are also your most sophisticated education. Not because suffering builds character in some poetic sense. Because pain is the one teacher who cannot be bribed, cannot be flattered, and has no interest in protecting your ego. It shows you exactly where you are weak, exactly where your thinking was sloppy, and exactly which people were never really on your side. Most people get that information and immediately try to escape it. They call it moving on. What they are actually doing is refusing the lesson. Research out of the University of Pennsylvania by psychologist Martin Seligman found that the people who demonstrate the highest resilience under pressure are not the ones who avoid pain. They are the ones who analyze it, asking specific questions rather than just feeling the weight of what happened. That gap between experiencing pain and studying it is where the actual separation happens. Machiavelli wrote from exile, stripped of his position, humiliated by the Florentine government he had served for 14 years. He sat in a small farmhouse and produced the most studied political document in Western history. He did not do that in spite of what broke him. He did it because exile forced him to see the mechanics of power without any of the illusions his former status had given him. Pain removed the comfortable fiction. That is what it does when you let it. But studying your pain is not the same as talking about it. Every word you speak about what hurt you to people who have not earned the right to hear it is information you are handing to the exact people most likely to use it against you. Machiavelli observed this across decades of watching rulers and generals. The ones who lasted understood that silence was not just dignity, it was intelligence. Think about it this way. When a predator is tracking something, the last thing it does is announce itself. Silence is concentrated presence. The moment you stop explaining yourself to people who have already made up their minds about you, something shifts. They start to doubt their own read of the situation. And a person who cannot be read is a person who cannot be managed. This connects to work by Adam Galinsky at Columbia Business School on the psychology of power and communication. His research suggested that people who speak less in high-stakes environments are consistently perceived as more powerful than their verbose counterparts, regardless of what they actually say. Restraint signals control, and control signals capacity. And this is where it gets uncomfortable. Because the reason most people cannot stay silent is they have not learned to govern their own internal state. Emotion, when unmanaged, broadcasts your vulnerabilities in real time. You lose composure in an argument, and the other person now has a map of exactly which buttons to press next time. You let anxiety push you into a premature decision, and you spend the next year managing consequences of a move made to relieve discomfort, not because the timing was right. Machiavelli wrote that a wise man must always choose the path of necessity, not comfort. He is not saying ignore discomfort. He is saying do not let comfort be your compass, because the path of comfort and the path of power rarely overlap. Emotional mastery is not about becoming cold. The men who actually built something real felt everything. The difference is they chose deliberately, how to respond to what they felt. That gap between feeling and responding is where your agency lives. Now here is where the internal work converts into something external. The people you allow closest to you are not just social company. They are a direct input into how you see yourself, what you believe is possible, and at what pace you are willing to move. Research suggests that Nicholas Christakis and James Fowler at Harvard documented in long-term network studies that behaviors, beliefs, and emotional states spread through social networks with a reliability most people find surprising. Your circle is not just influencing your decisions, it is shaping the baseline assumptions you make before any decision reaches your conscious mind. Machiavelli spent an entire section of The Prince on choosing advisors. His warning was specific. A ruler surrounded by flatterers is already walking toward his own destruction. Not because flattery feels bad, because it feels good. It replaces honest information with comfortable noise. And comfortable noise, consumed long enough, makes you less accurate about reality. The men who built anything worth building learned to value the person who tells them a hard truth over the one who tells them what they want to hear. Most people stop here, do not, because removing the wrong people is only part of the architecture. The other part is what you do with the space that opens up. Move without announcing yourself. Your plans, your vision, your next chapter, none of it belongs in a conversation until the results already exist. The moment you share an intention, you invite resistance. You hand your momentum to people who have not yet seen the evidence that you can execute. The men whose trajectories nobody could predict shared one operating principle. They built in silence and let the outcome speak. And the final piece of this, the one that holds everything together, is patience. Real patience. Not the resigned kind where you wait because you have no choice. Strategic patience, where you hold your position because you have looked at the situation clearly and you know the moment has not yet ripened. There is a specific discipline required to sit in discomfort, to resist the pressure of an unresolved situation, and refuse to act until the timing makes sense. Most people never develop it. Most people move too soon, exhaust their leverage, and spend the next year managing consequences of a move made to relieve discomfort, not because the timing was right. Reinvention is the natural product of all of it. This is a great fake test so that we can get rid of the issue. When you have studied your pain, controlled your reactions, curated your circle, moved in silence, and cultivated the patience to wait for the right moment, you no longer look like the person you were before any of that happened. That is not coincidence. That is compression. Pressure applied correctly does not break you. It restructures you into something the version of you from 2 years ago would not fully recognize. That is the Machiavelli most people never read, not the manipulation manual. The precision manual for building a mind that external circumstances simply cannot dismantle. If this hit the way it was supposed to, drop it in the comments. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to Vertex Vision for more content that treats you like you can handle the actual truth. See you in the next one.